So once we have a definitive diagnosis of polymyositis at our hands, we must know that we are dealing with a patient who can be suffering from some sort of an underlying condition as well. So when you are making a treatment plan or a management plan for that particular patient, you must keep in mind that what are the underlying factors that we might be dealing in with. When you carry out the investigations, that the picture is much more clarified, and you might know, for instance, you have a patient who is suffering from SLE as well. You would be giving or you'd be treating the underlying condition as well. We can have patients of autoimmune diseases, for instance, rheumatoid arthritis, connective tissue disorders, as well as systemic lupus erythematosus over here. On the other hand, there are a lot of other important and significant associations. For instance, the cancerous conditions that are sometimes associated with the condition of myositis. So ruling out those conditions, and if the patient is suffering from any of those cancerous conditions, you have to treat the patient accordingly. The underlying condition or the associated conditions have to be dealt in with accordingly in that particular case. So we have infections, we have cancerous conditions in the list. And moving on, we can have the environmental conditions. For instance, we can have the environmental stressful factors, such as it can be some sort of pollutants, exposure to the sun, or all of these stressful conditions might precipitate myositis in the individual. So just taking off that triggering factor from the environment might improve the condition overall in that particular individual. Either the infectious state or the autoimmune diseases, they are treated well in time, the prognostic factors or the overall prognosis in that particular individual is much more better than the other individuals. So having a treatment plan with you, and once you have made the diagnosis, addressing the underlying factors or addressing the precipitating factors is the key factor in the management of patients with myositis. And another thing that you have to keep in mind, before addressing the condition of myositis itself, you have to treat the symptoms. The symptomatic treatment is very important. For instance, painkillers, if they are given, or addressing the pain of the individual, or addressing the morning stiffness of the individual, or addressing the dysphagia or the dyspnea of the individual, and educating the patient regarding how to deal in with those particular signs and symptoms until the condition improves in that individual is very important. So the symptomatic treatment you have to keep in mind, the treatment of the associated factors you have to keep in mind, the triggering and the precipitating factors have to be ruled out from the environment as well. And then, of course, the CBT, that is the behavioral therapies, the cognitive therapies, or the counseling sessions have also to be kept in with the patient, because the overall willpower of the individual is basically going to improve the condition all in all. So you can couple up the pharmacological therapy along with the cognitive behavioral therapy, and the outcomes are quite good in cases in which the cognitive behavioral therapy is also induced in along with the pharmacological therapy. When we are discussing the drugs of choices that we can basically prescribe to these patients, steroids or the treatment with the corticosteroids have proven to be quite fruitful and quite promising in cases of polymyositis and dermatomyositis alone. So if it's a case of only polymyositis and dermatomyositis exclusively, we can prescribe with, or we can start off with the corticosteroids as a drug of choice. Mainly, we have prednisone, that is almost in doses of, it can be basically calculated according to the body weight. The body weight calculations are done, and then you prescribe the drug, and it's almost in a complete period of 3 to 4 weeks. Then if you want to taper off the treatment, if the desired results have been achieved, you can taper off the treatment, and even you can start off with some sort of a dose which can be given for a longer period of time as well. So it's depending upon the patient, how he's basically or she's reacting to that particular steroidal treatment. It's a once daily dosing that you would suggest for the patient, usually in the morning. The symptoms are usually aggravated in the morning as well. So the treatment or the dosing would start off early in the morning in these particular cases. Then we have, or we can prescribe with the medication of methylprednisolone as well. And it's again, the dose is calculated according to the body weight for almost 3 to 5 days. Apart from the treatment with the steroids, because a lot of patients usually react to the steroidal treatment, and so we can even prefer to another group of immunosuppressive drugs if the patients are not reacting well to the treatment with the corticosteroids. We can opt for the immunosuppressive drugs as well. The list of drugs over here that ranges from the azathioprine in a dose of 2.5 to 3 milligrams almost, and per kilogram body weight for almost a period of 4 to 6 months. So this is the usual time duration that you would be encompassing for this immunosuppressive treatment. What is the reason? Because there are a lot of side effects that are associated with the start of treatment or with the azathioprine, and not all individuals react very well. So it's basically the tolerance that the patient is exhibiting to any kind of these drugs. Methotrexate is basically an anti-cancerous drugs. It's one of that a particular pharmacological group, but you can give that almost on a dose of, it's basically given on weekly basis in a dose of almost 25 milligrams. So it's usually proven to be very promising in cases of polymyositis or dermatomyositis. Then we can prescribe cyclosporine almost in a dose of 100 to 150 milligrams. It's a twice daily dosing that you would usually prescribe to the patients. Drugs such as mycophenolate mofetil, it is usually prescribed in a dose of 2 milligrams per day. And the duration for this particular treatment is almost 3 months. So this is the usual drug duration that you'd be giving. Then we have the cyclophosphamide, which is usually given in a dose of almost 0.5 to 1 gram. And it is usually given in IV. So it's usually the complete dose is usually given in this particular way. A lot of newer agents are also being used, and they have proven to be quite fruitful in a lot of cases. Namely, we have rituximab. Then we have tacrolimus. Most of these drugs are the anti-cancerous drugs, and they have proven to be very good, and the prognosis is very good in a lot of patients. So you can try on with these drugs as well, these new agents as well. As well as we have sirolimus. It's another drug which can be used as a part of a newer treatment plans. We have TNF-A blockers. Again, we can basically block down the cascade of events right from the inflammatory response. We can start off with the TNF-A blockers over here. Now that was all for dermatomyositis and polymyositis. In case of inclusion body myositis, no particular treatment is available. So in this case, we can start off just with the symptomatic treatment, because we want to improve the quality of life for that particular individual. So you can start off accordingly. The sign and symptoms are basically catered for, and you look for the dysphagias or the dyspneas or any other cardiac myopathies that the patient might be suffering from, and you just address those particular sign and symptoms that the patient is having. Psychological behavioral therapies are again very important, and they prove to be quite fruitful. The outcomes are quite fruitful in these particular cases, and obviously a lot of researches are going on to find out a particular treatment for the inclusion body myositis as well. So over here in this particular lecture, we just focused on the conditions which are basically named, or they are categorized as myositis, which is pointing out towards the underlying inflammatory responses, particularly affecting the muscles of the body, and basically resulting in an overall clinical picture of muscular weakness in an individual. And how do we basically move on towards a definitive diagnosis, make a treatment plan for these patients, and get those particular results for these patients and improve the overall quality of life for these individuals who have been diagnosed with myositis. So that is the end. Thank you for watching sqadia.com.